I picked up a book a few years ago that was written by Sharon Salzberg. The book was called The Force of Kindness. And I was aware of the work that Sharon has done as a teacher of meditation and a practitioner of loving kindness. But what really drew me in and drew me to this book was the title. I love the juxtaposition of those words, force and kindness. The idea of kindness being a force to reckon with really resonated with me, and I began to read. She opens with, on the face of it, kindness can seem kind of wimpy, a cop-out, an excuse to do just a little bit to try to make a difference when so very much needs to be done. You know, we might delegate kindness to the category of a quaint, old-fashioned virtue, not very effective and certainly not very powerful. Yeah, I found myself nodding my head in agreement with that assessment. By contrast, my initial response to the word force conjured up images of might, of strength, of unbridled power, intent on overcoming the will of others, something that was used to get things done, something used in endeavors like corporate takeovers and warfare. You know, so often the change agents in our society portray the tools of change as being grounded in strength, loud voices, saber rattling, and more, leaving things like kindness and compassion as the tools used by the cleanup crew to put the world back together afterward. So thinking more about kindness being a force for change was much more appealing to me. I think that we are all looking for the things that give our lives meaning, things we can believe in no matter what happens in our lives. So what might happen if we decide to elevate kindness as the navigational force at our center, the default position we operate from to help us pull all the disparate pieces of our lives into some kind of whole? So I have a question for you. Who here has ever said something really mean to another person, whether it was intentional or not? Yeah. Who has then had the experience of having that harmful statement be met by a counter meanness, more angry, hurtful words or actions coming back to you in return? I have. Words too often can be thrown around like physical punches, words that intensify emotions leading to emotional harm, physical harm, and in today's world, far too often, if you have a gun nearby, really serious harm and death. So by contrast, who here has had the experience of uttering those mean and hurtful words, intentionally or otherwise, and being met with a pause, with a look of understanding, with compassion and kindness? I've had that kind of experience too. The force of kindness offered to me in a time of my own intense emotion provided what I needed to return to a more centered, loving place within. I was talking to somebody here at the church a few weeks ago who said, you know, we talk about love all the time, but are we really loving? Are we really kind? And I think that as much as we truly desire to live into the principles that we hold dear, we are also an aspirational faith. All the words like valuing the inherent worth and dignity of every person or having respect for the interdependent web of life, living these words, these values takes practice. I believe that one of the reasons we come here, one of the reasons we gather together, whether we realize it or not, is to practice love and to practice kindness, to figure out how we can go into the larger world of our families, our neighbors, our coworkers, the unnamed stranger, and live there the values and principles that we do aspire to. You know, the Dalai Lama is credited with this quote, My true religion is kindness. Maybe that can be ours as well. So I'm going to return to the words of Sharon Salzberg. She says, when we are devoted to the development of kindness, we are no longer forcing ourselves into a mold we think we have to occupy. Rather, it becomes a movement of the heart, so deep and subtle that it's like a movement of the sea close to the ocean floor, all but hidden, yet affecting absolutely everything that happens above. Now think about that. That is the force of kindness. She continues, the quality of kindness gives us the ability to take abstract ideals like compassion or love thy neighbor and make them authentic and palpable. When we really examine kindness, we find it is a deep and abiding understanding of how connected we all are. Regardless of what the world may try to tell us about how to get by, I am convinced that operating from a place of kindness is operating from a place of the most profound and ultimately transformative power that can be found anywhere. As an illustration, I want to share the words of Lisa Friedman. She says, "You never know when the moment of decision will come. Perhaps it's on the school playground when you see the class bully picking on a new victim. Or you're standing in the checkout line at the grocery store behind a young mother whose screaming child has her at her wit's end. Or you might be at a staff forum at work when your pledge to take some unpaid leave days could help save a coworker's job. Such moments come in different ways to each of us, but they do come. They remind us that the decisions that we make in our day-to-day lives do make a difference. They point out the ongoing choices we make between standing uncomfortably on the sidelines of our messy world, unsure of what to do, and acting deliberately in small but concrete ways to help create a kinder, more compassionate reality. They return us to the powerful truth that in critical times it is possible to stand on the side of love, and in the mystic's words, to help its mighty power to surge upward and surmount every obstacle by defending, supporting, and advocating for each other as if we were truly all equals in our humanity." Then she goes on, or do they? After all, we are fallible human beings. Are we really that powerful? If siding with love is so significant, then why isn't the world a better place already? Don't most people already think of themselves as siding with love? Or at least as much love as they can manage, given that most of us do not live our lives as a saint. It is a spiritual paradox. It is precisely because we live in a world which knows the evils of greed and violence and the seas of human indifference that we understand just how sacred it is when our acts of love and compassion actually triumph. And it is precisely because we live in a world which knows such triumphs that we cannot fully give up hope on our imperfect humanity. So rather than making a to-do list, why don't you think about making a to-be list? How do you want to be in the world? Prioritize that. In a world where you can imagine being anything, imagine being kind.